Listen, listen. Read the title. That's what we're talking about.
This business needs a national oversight and a national commission to investigate crimes. And yes, I'll say it, crimes like this. This is why this sport, as great as it is, and as noble as those athletes can be, that is why this sport continues to hurt itself, continues to give itself a black eye, even when it's become the Cyclops, and there's no more eyes to block it. Somebody, some congressman out there, some senator, some assemblyman, somebody with some guts, with a little bit of integrity, come forward and help us with this sport. It is a corrupt sport. It is a sport that does not do justice to these great athletes. This is a sham.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous. People say they've been waiting for me to talk about this for a long time. I understand. I watched that fight live and I was sitting there like, what the fuck is this shit? But one specific fight I want to talk about is I want to talk about Herrera versus Benavidez. When you look at 116, 112, 117, 111, 116, 112. So you got Max DeLuca, 116, 112. Dave Moriarty, 117, 111. And then you got, forgot his name, I think Eric Cheek or something, 116, 112. I'm thinking it was very difficult for me to find 8 rounds for Benavidez. And maybe if I was a judge, I would be one of those judges that scores off work rate. Because you had your different judges out there. There's some that score off a ring generalship. There's some that score off of punching power. There's some that even scores off the, fighter's body language. Now, is that all right? No, you got to use all that and compile it into one. I actually had the chance to speak to a former judge. What was this, back in April? No, May. And what he told me was that what he does is he breaks each round into 3 minutes. So whoever wins the 2 out of 3 of those minutes wins the round. Now, in that, he talks about how he uses, well, I look at what fighter is out of their element, what fighter is exhibiting certain body language, what fighter looks like he's already lost, what fight as far as on the inside, punch output. And he started saying like all this different stuff, and he was saying that it all factors into one. And when I watch these fights, and we all watch these fights as far as boxing fans, and we're thinking to ourselves like how do they see these fights going this way? Now, you have to think, they're right there at the ring. They only get certain views. Now I believe, in my opinion, now I don't know how this will work, and maybe I'm jumping the gun as far as saying how this should work or how it seems more logical, but put them in a situation where they can see the fight and have screens to see everything that's going on, but no commentary. I just don't know how, like they're sitting right there, but they're looking at one angle. Just one angle. So on one angle, depending, they may see somebody. I don't know. It's just flawed. It's flawed. It's flawed. It's flawed. It's flawed. It's flawed. And just like Teddy Atlas says, like, it is a corrupt sport. It's hard for us to believe, but yes, there are people paying judges. We don't know who, but we know that there are people out there paying judges, promoters, managers, whoever. They're paying the judges. It's been going on for the history of boxing. It's happening now. And I asked myself the question, as I asked before, is how accessible are these judges? What are these judges getting paid? Here's a perfect example. Airline pilots. We found out within the last 10 years that airline pilots were being paid shit. So you mean to tell me these guys flying us up there 50,000 miles in the air, way up there in the goddamn sky, 30,000, way up there in the goddamn sky, and they're going home unhappy? They're not paid right? They got to work overtime? You mean to tell me this guy's tired because he's been flying all over the world for 16 hours because he's underpaid? So I'm thinking to myself, like, how much are these judges getting paid? And judges' schedules are crazy. They just don't judge one fight a month. Max DeLuca may judge maybe 30 fights in a month, and I'm serious. I'm dead serious. So there's so many questions that need to be answered. And yes, I do believe that there needs to be a governing body over the WBO, WBC, IBF, WBA, and over the that ring just messed me up, and over like the promoters, the managers, and the judges, because when stuff like that happens, there needs to be an investigation to the point where it can go to the courts, because this is prize fight, like it's illegal, and we're seeing this shit happen, and we're wondering, like not Freddie Rose, like Teddy Atlas said, it's like how is there not, like people, like no governor, no politician of any sort saying like, oh no, like sitting home watching these fights, like, oh no, this shit can't be happening. The WBO president reached out to Senator John McCain on Twitter, trying to basically talking about, the Muhammad Ali Act needs to be reformed, talking about, the role of an advisor and all that, people dropping their belts. Like, boxing is crazy right now, and maybe it's because it's always been crazy, but with this social media age and information is easily accessible, they're doing this shit right in front of our faces, and they know they're doing it, and they're getting too bold with it. But that's just my personal opinion. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. Mauricio Herrera should be the unofficial. He should be the fighter of the year. If you look at 3 fights this year, if you look at him defeating Danny Garcia in Puerto Rico. Now imagine, right? Herrera getting that WBC, that ring, that WBA title, and in Puerto Rico and all the fans booing and everything. Even though they know Danny Garcia lost the fight, all them booing and everything. Danny Garcia would have been a joke. It just couldn't go like that. But it would have been good for boxing, because we would have known, like, yeah, Danny Garcia lost in Puerto Rico. That would have gave the fans hope. And I'm thinking, are these judges thinking to themselves, like, yeah, I know we can't have him lose in Puerto Rico. We don't get no security that walks us back to our hotel rooms or no shit like that. So they're like, we're going to give it to Dan. Like, none of it makes any sense anymore. Now, when it comes to Herrera's fight with Johan Perez, he was close to losing that fight. Literally, I thought it was like, oh, that's going to be a draw. He was close to losing that fight. But when it comes to Jose Benavidez, I try to find 8 rounds for him. And I'm thinking, like, all right, the judges think, or they may be thinking, like, well, this is the young guy. This is the guy, who's the future of boxing right now. And every boxer's got to get that gift every now and then. But my God, Herrera twice in 1 year, that's crazy. And he's literally going out there exposing these guys. But the good thing, if there's only one good thing out of the situation, is that fans know Herrera won those fights, and fans know, when Herrera fights, to tune in, no matter who he faces. And now he's even more feared, and which is the reason why I say he's the most feared man at 140 pounds. But people thought I was joking. When it comes to any of these fighters at 140, Herrera will probably most likely give him the teaching. He will most likely take him to school, because the guy, no matter what, he can get his face beat to shit. He will keep coming. He'll throw 100 punches around, and he can do everything. He could be a pressure puncher. He could be a jabber. He can be a hooker. Like, it's outrageous. I'm T Street Controversy, RealCombatMedia.com, boxing, mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu. I'm watching the WBC convention. T Street Controversy, RealCombatMedia.com, T Street Controversy Live.